SCERTS Model, a comprehensive educational approach for children with autism spectrum disorders. The SCERTS Model: social communication, emotional regulation, transactional support. For children with ASD, priorities for education should include developing effective spontaneous communication, developing social relationships and play skills with peers, developing the abilities needed to play an effective part in meaningful activities. SCERTS: social communication, emotional regulation, transactional support. The most meaningful learning experiences occur in everyday activities. The priorities are goals in social communication, SC, and emotional regulation, ER, and these are achieved through transactional support, TS, throughout daily activities and involving different people. Social communication: communicating and playing with others in everyday activities and finding social relationships with both children and adults pleasurable. Children must develop the ability to do two important things: pay joint attention and use symbols, which include words. Communication may be pre-verbal, such as gestures or use of objects to communicate, or verbal, including signs, picture symbol systems, and/or speech. This can range from single words to the complex expressive language used in conversation. 3 stages of social communication development: social partner, language partner, conversational partner. Social partner: the child communicates with gestures and sounds. Language partner: the child uses symbols to communicate shared meanings. The symbols can include spoken language, sign language, or picture symbols. Conversational partner: the child uses more advanced language abilities and has a social awareness of others. Emotional regulation: this is essential for a child to be able to operate and to learn. It involves being able to do 3 things: self-regulation, mutual regulation, recovery. Self-regulation: being able to remain focused in the face of possibly stressful events that may be either positive or negative. Mutual regulation: seeking help and responding when others try to provide support for emotional regulation in the face of stressful, overstimulating, or upsetting situations. Recovery: being able to recover from difficulties or meltdowns through strategies of self-regulation and/or mutual regulation. So with levels of development, we have 3 stages of emotional regulation. One in which the child is using behavioural strategies, one in which the child is using language strategies, and one in which the child is using metacognitive strategies. And they correspond, as you can see, to the social partner stage, to the language partner stage, and the conversational partner stage. So behaviour strategies: these are simple motor activities or sensory motor strategies that the child engages in so that they can stay alert or to help them to soothe themselves. Examples can include looking at one's hands, sucking on an object, or fiddling with something. This can be called stimming. Language strategies: these are words or other symbols that the child uses to self-regulate. This involves imitating or creatively using symbols to engage in audible self-talk, and this then leads at a later stage into using inner language. Metacognitive strategies: reflecting on and discussing cognitive processes that help the child to stay focused and reduce anxiety. Such strategies enable a child to guide his or her own behaviour. A child will be able to have an internal dialogue which coordinates different perspectives. This will allow them to solve problems in social issues. A child will be able to follow social and moral rules and to use reflection to guide themselves, so they can tell themselves, for example, that if something happens, they can take a particular action. Transactional support: This is the third and final core component of the SCERTS model. The most meaningful learning occurs within the social context of everyday activities and within trusting relationships, so transactional support needs to be part of activities with different social partners. To support a child, social partners must adjust their language use, adjust their expression of emotions, use an interactive style that helps the child to process language, take part in social interactions, find social activities emotionally satisfying, maintain a well-regulated state. Learning and educational supports that will help a child include how the setting is arranged, how activities are set up to encourage social communication and emotional regulation, how home and school share information and resources, having consistent approaches at both home and school. Assessment tools can be used to assess the communication stage and also to assess how I cope with others' help, mutual regulation, how I cope on my own, self-regulation, how I communicate, symbol use, why I communicate, joint attention. This is an example assessment tool to determine the communication stage. So it's asking questions like, does the child use at least 3 words or phrases referentially to refer to specific objects, people or activities? And then you're answering yes or no. And then here is an example assessment tool to assess other aspects such as self-regulation and mutual regulation. So again, you've got a series of points to answer yes or no to. So will the child try to start an interaction, for example, seeking attention from an adult? Will the child imitate familiar actions with supports from a familiar adult? Will a child use behaviour modelled by an adult to soothe themselves following distress? Monitoring activities. We can see whether planned activities are working well by looking at whether the child is understanding and using visual structure and organisation, social communication, emotional regulation in the activity. Monitoring visual structure and organisation. Does the child understand the purpose of the task? Does the child understand the sequence of activities? Does the child understand the steps within the activity? Does the child understand their role in the activity? To help with visual structure and organisation, an activity needs to deal with purpose, sequence, steps and role. So to help with purpose, the activity will be good if it enables sensory exploration, explores cause and effect, relates to a child's special interests or real-life events. It will support the development and understanding of sequence if it offers activity baskets or provides a daily schedule, for example, with photos. It will support an understanding of the steps needed if it provides countdown strips or uses a visual timer. It will support development of an understanding of role if it has clear visuals that show expectations and has a clear structure for turn taking. Monitoring social communication. Does the child understand when to initiate and participate? Does the child understand what to say? To help with social communication, an activity to help with initiating will include opportunities for child participation and initiation. And to support with understanding what to say, it will provide visual supports such as objects, photos, pictures or written words which remind the child how to ask for help, to comment, to respond to questions, etc. Monitoring emotional regulation. Does the child know how to regulate their emotions? Does the child know that other people are responsive and are a source of emotional support? To help with emotional regulation, an activity to help with regulating needs to provide access to sensory supports, visuals and a choice of coping strategies. And to help them understand that others will be a source of support, the activity needs to include other people who are responsive and who do provide emotional support. Key things adults can do to support a child are to make learning accessible, to support the child to make links and to support smooth transitions and make things predictable. We're going to explore that last idea a bit further. So to support smooth transitions and make things predictable, we can use visual supports to enhance smooth transitions. We can define a clear beginning and end to activities, and we can include motivating materials and interests in activities. At the social partner stage, we would use objects of reference, a gesture to show finished, routine rhymes and songs, and a consistent and predictable routine. At the language partner stage, we would use now and next boards, motivators, a visual timetable starting off by using real objects and moving through photos towards symbolic pictures, and countdown timers. So here we have some examples: a visual timetable with a series of steps to follow, a countdown timer being used with visual support, and an object of reference associated with a photo. Learning and playing with peers. Adults must offer a child with ASD a systematic and semi-structured way to learn and apply social communication and play skills. This needs to be offered in predictable and supportive activities as well as in natural everyday situations. So SCERTS summary. It has core values and principles. It supports the development of important skills individualised for each child in a systematic but flexible way. It has a hierarchy of goals in social communication and emotional regulation based on each child's needs. It's flexible enough to incorporate various approaches and teaching strategies such as attention autism and the use of PECs. And it's a comprehensive model for working with children with autistic spectrum disorder.